when Snow White came out, it was like the greatest thing ever. It was rotoscoped. It had music. It had, a classic story, good and evil, uh, copyright free. And it became huge. And then, after that, Disney said, "That's it. We're just going to continue to make feature-length movies." And they changed their whole model. And he ended up winning the battle, and the Fleischer brothers went out of business.
Ralph Bakshi. All right, here we go. For the intro, this is one of the kind of newer ways of introing ourselves. I was kind of thinking throughout the week, like, what makes us different for being a comic book talking video podcast? And yesterday, I just had this feeling of getting excited about hanging with you today, to cut I was like, oh man, it's like after school at Jake's house, and we're going to make comic books.
Right.
So, everybody, welcome to Jake's house.
Yeah, or better yet, cutting school.
Yeah, well, no, no, we went to school. We talked about all this stuff. We did all these things, but now we're home. We gotta hunker down now. We gotta make our comic book. Didn't you do that after school sometimes with friends? Like you just like, you know,
Yeah,
you know,
we would read them,
yeah, you
and then
read
we
them.
would get all inspired. But I used to make my comics in school when the teacher wasn't looking.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. In my math book was my favorite hiding place.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and we used to take the Rexo paper, fold it in half, and that would make like a squarish kind of format. And then we made hundreds of issues. I had this pal of mine, and I used to do a couple pages, and then when we were switching classes, I would hand it to him, and then he
Oh,
would do a couple
nice,
of pages,
nice.
and we would do the thing where my character would be on top, and then and put him in like a situation that he could never get out of, and then he would get out of it, and and then give it back to me. So those were fun. And then, like idiots, we sold our comics. We made like 49 issues, and then we sold our comics to this kid named Franz Valcourt for $5 at the end of the year. And he took them all home, and we never saw them again. And I would die to have them back.
Damn. You didn't hunt them down
so,
on
so
Facebook?
no, but I started up again in college, and I just because when I'm in class, I just listen, I just draw, that's how I listen,
Yeah,
and I do it to this
same
to
way.
this day when I'm in a meeting, whenever I'm in, something. Um, so I started it up again in college, and I did it with this other guy who was a cartoonist, and actually, the guy, this is just a coincidence, but the guy's father worked at a printing plant, and so he would do comics, and he would bring in all kinds of like, like offset printing, like mistakes, and plates and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff, and then
Mish.
and then they also did the labels for the Swan Song record company, which is the Led
What is it?
Zeppelin
Oh
stuff. So
yeah.
he brought in labels from like Zeppelin records and stuff. But that's just a weird little aside. Yeah, no, doing comics is a great pastime. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad, just do them
Yep.
and save them, and,
And do them
and
your
you'll
way.
you'll have fun. You'll have fun reading them back
Yeah.
some other time.
Right. So here's a question for you. It's pretty obvious, but I just want to make sure before I use an entire Sharpie marker to fill this in. So the story here, this is page 16. I'm about ready to head into 17. She rips the throat out of this laser whip um, baddie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Um, so she takes his throat out and then is gonna stomp the um, the head out of this fella here. And I'm assuming this is just a solid black panel. You didn't have anything like
Yeah,
design or
yeah.
color or something, so I could like literally spend the next 5 minutes just filling this in with black.
Yeah. No, that's just all black, and we're
Right.
gonna have some. There's gonna be some word balloons on there. That's the only thing, you know. Some words on there.
Like in white,
But
would you have that those in white or
yeah,
do
we
they?
probably would just have that in white. Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool.
yeah,
Because obviously it's a transition panel because then the next scene is of um, Trophy and she's making her way away,
yeah,
escaping,
yeah.
and
She's
she's cracking some manhole cover type thing, and
hmm
then
yeah,
that's the next page I'll be heading to. I'll show that off in just a minute. But wait, and you're on
yeah. She's
you're still in 7? Is that 7? Looks like 7.
uh
Yeah,
no, this is 8.
that's 8. Oh,
I'm
cool,
on the
cool.
yeah. This is page 8 where we're uncorking the little wire traps to get the motorcycles, and then we get the motorcycles. They start flipping over. And then here we're showing the pursuers, and the truck is up on two wheels and teetering. And then here now, the panel I'm working on, the guy on top is got a Molotov cocktail, and he's going to throw it in the cab in a second. And then there's some other guy here on the back, but they can't get rid of these creepy crawly guys. So that's where we're at.
Nice.
And yeah, and in the middle of this battle scene. So I didn't get to work on this at all this week because I'm doing this other project of these colorful faces, which I should probably show, but they're in the other room. But I working on paintings, and we did. There's like 60 of them, and once they're all finished, like I was just like touching them up and make them like photo ready and everything. We're going to rent a high resolution camera to take big photos of them and make them downloads. So that's what I was doing all week, and I go back to school tomorrow, but
Oh,
it's only professional development so far. We have a week of PD, and then we're gonna have kids on the 8th, so we still have some time, and still have some time to do some comics.
hell yeah.
But yeah, but I've been reading some comics and trying to go through the crates here, and I also saw a comic movie on Friday night, which I wanted to talk about slash warn people about. There's a new Sylvester Stallone flick,
Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
saw it
so
too.
it's oh, Samaritan,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Are we gonna
yeah,
have a throwdown?
well, there's no, I don't think I'll
Don't
do any
spoil
spoilers,
anything. Don't spoil anything.
but I will say that the opening sequence where they kind of go over the history
Yeah,
was done in a fantastic animated
I agree.
rotoscoping style. Yeah,
I knew when you saw that you were going to get attached to it.
yeah. I mean, I wish the whole movie
I
was in
agree.
a and especially for Stallone, he's not young Stallone, so he's looking really like plastic and weird and stuff. And he has a lot of makeup, so like with scars and everything. So I guess it's no big deal for this role, but these guys that are getting older and they want to still be heroic, just animate yourself and rotoscope yourself. Like 300,
Yeah, yeah,
was like a great example of how you can just make all the visuals whatever you want, but
right.
you could still. go through your acting and all of your props and all your scenes. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah, no
very
spoilers,
surprised
but
that that has not um, taken taken flight. Um, I'm assuming actors are still in the throes of the craft, the acting craft, because that's been the biggest complaint is you get a ton of money from the MCU studios, but then you show up to you know, a big warehouse painted green inside.
yeah, well, there's all that stuff, but I know like there's a filter. I mean, I have it on photo booth, where you could just make your own little film, and it just turns you into comic booky, you know, um, filter, and your high contrast with little dots and everything. So, someone should just make a movie like that, and then just go over it and CGI it, and I don't know. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but um, the people with a lot of money should be, I think, getting in the studios need to be getting into 2D animation with rotoscoping, because it's like it's got to be easier than it's ever been. And like something like the She-Hulk will be perfect. You could change her and make her bigger in every scene, and everybody else would be cartoonized too, so just freaking do it. We want like moving comics. That's what we want.
Yeah, I was just watching
And
something else, and I think it started out in the feeling of like rotoscope, and then it just went away, and I just thought to myself, why aren't you doing it this way?
yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Maybe it's not that
those
easy.
yeah, well, it seems like a decision. The Marvel channel, or the Disney channel, has Disney Plus has all of these Marvel shows, and there's 2D animation, and the What If we've spoken about had some good animation, and animation is best when it's rotoscoped. If people don't know what we're talking about, that's when you're filming live action actors, and then you're using that as the basis to make animation, so that your motions are really smooth and really lifelike. And rotoscoping has been around since Snow White in 1938, I want to say, 1937, 38. And Snow White was, of course, Walt Disney's Big Gamble, and it was also the first feature-length animated movie ever made. He was in financial trouble, and he kind of hawked everything to get Snow White made. It was a huge gamble. He was in fierce competition with the Fleischer Brothers studio to see who was going to be the leader in this new technology called animation that they were doing. And uh, Walt Disney had a big hit with Mickey Mouse, and he was using it to bankroll feature-length movies. And when Snow White came out, it was like the greatest thing ever. It was rotoscoped. It had music. It had, a classic story, good and evil, uh, copyright free. And it became huge. And then, after that, Disney said, "That's it. We're just going to continue to make feature-length movies." And they changed their whole model. And he ended up winning the battle, and the Fleischer brothers went out of business.
Ralph Bakshi, if you really want to see it in complete action, watch anything with Ralph Bakshi in it. Other than his like Mighty Mouse comics, some things, but like Cool
Yeah, well,
World,
Ralph actually goes from the '60s, where he
yeah.
was doing the Spider-Man. Um, and by the way, yeah, Bruce Timm worked for Ralph Bakshi. But Ralph Bakshi did the Spider-Man. Those were kind of cheap, animation, no rotoscoping. But then when he started making his feature-length movies, the best ones are Lord of the Rings and Wizards and Fire and Ice, and he also had Hey Good Looking and Street. What was it? Street. Hey Good Looking and the other one about the street gangs.
Yeah,
But
yeah. There's also
but
Coon. That was
Coons
yeah,
Coonskin,
that
right?
Coonskin, yeah, which is obviously a pretty controversial uh, topic
Yeah.
nowadays. Um,
Yeah, they
but
make they use a combination of rotoscoping with other techniques, and sometimes it was very cartoony, sometimes it was very realistic. But there's a great YouTube video on the making of the Lord of the Rings, and it's amazing to hear. I guess some book author wrote about it extensively, and it's a great way to spend an hour learning all about that. Ralph Bakshi was always my hero, and I loved the
yeah,
Lord of the Rings. When the Lord of the Rings first came out, it was only playing in one place in New York. It was a Ziegfeld Theater, and I went back and saw it in the theater all by myself like 5 times. I just couldn't get enough of it, and to this day, I can watch that thing over and over. The only problem was that it ends right in the middle of the second book, and it says to be continued, and they never they
yeah,
never finished it. The studio said we're going to finish this on the cheap, and they did the Return of the King in a completely different style
yeah. It was weird.
with like real simplistic cartoons, and I just hated the whole thing so much I never watched it.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker. Definitely a heartbreaker. Yeah, it was all VHS for me. It was renting it and then driving, riding my bike back up to Vic's rental, VHS
Hmm.
rental, and
Yeah,
then re-renting it. It'd just be like, he's like, "What are you gonna get today?" This. He's like, Haven't you seen this like for 2 weeks?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then when Fire and Ice came along, it was like, you know, it's Gundar the Barbarian, um, you know, pipes through a penthouse magazine. It was
yeah. If you,
just like off the wall. I think I turned it off 5 minutes in and just was like, uh, "Is mom and dad home?" Like, like, holy crap.
yeah, there was definitely some naked vixens being
Well,
saved.
there's no nudity. It's very scantily clad. Um, Yeah, Tigra is the female protagonist, which, by the way, it's a live action animated Frank Frazetta series of paintings. Which, by the way, other um, creatives that were involved is backgrounds were done by James Gurney, Dinotopia, and Thomas Kincaid from the brightly lit cottage paintings. And then there's an awesome flight of uh, um, dragons, or like more like pterodactyls. There's a flight sequence and fights with these Neanderthal guys, which was plotted out by a very, very young and getting started Peter Chung. So
Really?
it's another. If you really want to understand the connection between fantasy art, comic book art, animation, and popular culture through the 70s and 80s, you might Bakshi's work or what Bakshi created. He was incorporating young, new stuff, like people who were going. He knew, and every interview you ever see with, they're like, "Oh, did you know Peter?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's why I hired the kid before he was even out of school." You know?
Yeah, the same thing goes with Bruce Timm and John
Yeah,
Crick. They all worked for Bakshi, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, he was a superior um, director. So
Yeah, yeah, the thing about Fire and Ice is that it is a Frazetta movie come to life. I mean, a Frazetta painting,
Yeah.
come to life. And Bakshi did that with a couple of other properties to various degrees of success. The other one was Fritz the Cat, and
Yes.
he would bring an R. Crumb comic to life. But the Fritz the Cat was not the best work of Bakshi, and Crumb hated it, and they had a falling out over it. And I think Crumb walked away and disowned the whole thing at some point in the creative process. And it's not a it you know it is not a great uh, you know conversion of R. Crumb's comics. It did get like Hollywooded up, or like TV landed up, or like just
Softened
watered.
up.
Well, softened down. It's still got an X rating, by the way, but
Yeah.
it's just not worth watching. Like it just it doesn't hold up. It wasn't that great. It had a couple of things from R. Crumb's comics, but it didn't capture the Roberts Combs world, the Fritz the Cat world, or anything. It just, it was a great try. When he did Wizards, he was
Oh yeah.
he was capturing the world of Von Baudet,
Von Bodie.
but completely without permission. And
Yeah.
it doesn't really look too much like Von Baudet's style. It just wasn't inspired and started out that way. Like, and the main character is this wizard, who looks a lot like Cheech Wizard.
Yeah.
The good news is that Wizards is a great movie that still holds up. It's definitely worth watching. It is a combination of cartoony and rotoscoping, so there's like both in there, and there's a lot of scenes that are really mixing and matching, live action sequences. Wizards was really his practice training ground for the Lord of the Rings, and the
Mike
the
Plug is the star storyboarder for
Well,
Wizards.
he's yeah, Mike Plug of Man Thing fame, and Werewolf fame, Werewolf by Night fame, and many other comic fame. Um, did the storyboarding, but he also did the opening sequences,
Yeah.
kind of like the origin sequences, and they're great. They're beautiful, illustrations that were done with like white and like dark and light on this like toned paper of the elf queen, and she dies and she has two sons, and it's kind of like the Nemesis versus Samaritan setup. You could um right, and so the movie goes on from there, but that was him. So he adapted Vaughn Baudet, he adapted R. Crumb, he adapted Frank Frazetta, and he adapted um the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy. So that's a little tangent on Ralph Bakshi. He's on Facebook and he sells his stuff. So if you want to buy an animated
Instagram.
cell, yeah, he's on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to buy an animated cell from Wizards, oh, and you know what? Another great, because I follow him and I just get these alerts, and he just puts these clips on. And another great example of rotoscoping is a movie Bakshi made in the 70s called American Pop.
Yep.
And American Pop was his.
Production created.
It was weird.
Those are
The
pierogies. Those pierogies aren't cold enough.
It wasn't an overheating issue. It was the app just closed and
Yeah.
crashed.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
so
yeah, we
I don't
are
know.
definitely still on the up and up, technically speaking. So please bear with us. Um,
Yeah,
but
we're getting there.
we're getting there. Yeah, I mean we're in no rush to get anywhere. We're just like I said, it's after school at Jake's house, making comics, talking comics. But I was just asking the question about how you integrate um, sound effects, and it's not like dialogue so much, or maybe I am going to just add that in there. Like, do you associate images then um, the words, or does words come in, or is it a thing at the same time?
Um, yeah, well, the Marvel way was doing all the art and then adding the word balloons
Right,
in later.
right.
So our process is, um, well, I do these thumbnails. There's plenty of words in them, and then I switch to these rough pages, and then it's the same words and maybe more, with some signage and some sound effects, some and all kinds of notes all over the place. And then when we get to these pages, it's like, okay, now it's time to finalize it. What are they gonna
Okay,
say? Where does it all go? This is it. This is going to be the camera ready art. So, um, that's where I'm at right now. And I don't know where I cut off, but I'm saying here, this word balloon, the robot, go for the robot's going to be saying, um, incendiary device detected nearby, and then Turbo is saying that crumb on the roof, he's got a. And then I was asking, should I say Molotov or should I say Molotov cocktail? Is that still going to be an expression in the future? Should I say firebomb? He's got a flaming bottle of Pepsi, or what should I say?
that's a good question because he gave us another opportunity to make up our own descriptive for that time. Um,
Yeah, it could still be a
Flaming bottle
Molotov
of,
cocktail.
yeah, I mean it's pretty much in the lexicon there.
Yeah, so should I write Molotov cocktail or should I just write
Yeah, go
Molotov?
for it. Yeah.
Which one?
Huh? Oh,
Wh-
just do Molotov.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then if that's in bold, that's better. So he's got a Molotov,
Yeah.
right? Um, so yeah, and I have to draw now another guy clinging on the back here. Um, so and yeah, oh wait, so this is Turbo, and then Turbo will be looking out. I guess I got to draw Turbo looking out the window here, and then he's gonna throw it in the front. Yeah, so these silhouettes are pretty handy, but you would think like she would try to grab him in time, but she just threw this guy. I don't know if this is clear, but she just threw this guy out the window. I don't know if that's clear enough. And this other guy will be crawling. I have to look ahead and see where he ends up in future panels so that this makes continuity sense. Um, I know these are like really, really intricate details, but where is he now? And then where does he end up later? Because they're going to stop. Yeah, she's going to grab this guy. Yeah, so she's so close here. Uh, because she is going to grab the guy off the roof and drag him with her super strength, and her arm is going to be right in front of all this detail I drew. So right here she's just pointing, but she's going to rip the guy off the roof and then use him to put out the fire and use his body as a rag. Yeah, so I don't know if this is clear. I gotta make that clear. But then this other guy, so they're going to stop the car. They're gonna slow down a little, and then where's this other guy gonna end up? Four left plus one on the roof, right? So this other guy is just crawling up He's just crawling up the roof, on the roof. Yeah, and maybe I don't need these guys in silhouette because I just did that in the last panel. Uh, is it too much? Is it too much silhouette? These are the questions that we're thinking about live on the air.
Yeah, because
But
that
yeah,
that's a trophy hanging out, right?
no, trophy's inside.
Uh,
This is a bad guy.
yeah,
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 bad guy on the roof.
yeah.
Oh no, that's Turbo. She
Oh,
just
that's
threw
Turbo.
this
Oh,
guy.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, she just threw this guy out. So maybe I erase this so that it's not in silhouette. I don't know if this needs to be in silhouette. This guy could be in silhouette because he's all the way in the back. But I'll probably erase this. I'm gonna erase this and make it bigger. And
okay.
silhouette's great to use if you're off in the background or if you're in Sin City. but but I don't know if I'm using it too much here.
I mean, the panel
Um,
looks good to me. And she just looks a little small. I would figure like she would be like twice that size.
right here or
No,
here?
no, that one there. Yeah, yeah,
This one?
yeah.
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah, I'm gonna get my little eraser and make these not silhouettes in a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, silhouette is a good placeholder. As an art teacher, I got to teach kids like when you're drawing, the great thing about silhouette is that you can always keep adding to it. Like I compare it to clay, and you can make it like you start out with like, a skeletal outline or basic shapes, and then you contour it, because it's all just darkened in, so who cares? Nobody will know what you did when, right? So draw in silhouette first, and then you could, go over it with white, or you can go over it with a light color, and flesh it out, literally. But I think that's what I'm doing here.
Okay.
But I'm trying to get like some fluidity at the same time. So, that's why you you might want references, like references of athletes or movie stills or whatever, to get that fluidity.
Remember
Otherwise,
buying
you're
muscle magazines? Just to,
mm,
you'd ever got into like, I mean, I didn't buy like hundreds of them. I had probably bought like three of them and just kept drawing all the muscle men for the anatomy
well,
studies.
well, I
Especially,
have a swipe file. People are gonna laugh because I'm a pre-internet person, but before the internet, I had a swipe file,
oh yeah,
and I still have it in my garage,
yeah.
and I
You got
had
a
all these
cabinet,
categories. Yeah, I had all these categories: backgrounds, cityscapes, forests, trees, faces, expressions, and now it's like, oh God, just look it up on the internet, and you get Google images, you get 6,000 examples.
right?
Mm. Um, and but but I don't know. Maybe I throw that out. I mean, sometimes a swipe file is looking through magazines and just getting a cool dynamic pose or a picture of something or someone that you say, "Oh, I want to use that eventually as
Yeah,
a
something to
reference for
set you
something."
off in the right direction.
Yeah, and great photography. It might not be a particular thing. It might just be a composition, that you're looking at. So, I mean, always have an eraser handy. I can guarantee you'll get good use out of it. And as you're finalizing your pencils,
Well,
um,
we are coming
ano-
up on the 45-minute mark. Once again, time flies when you're having fun at Jake's house.
yeah, and I didn't even finish one panel, but I'm gonna stay working on this for a little while when we get off, and Try to get some progress so I can finish this page. That crumb on the roof. He's got a Molotov.
That crumb on the, love it. Love it. All
And then,
right. Well, you want to do the closer?
yeah, so thanks for tuning in to this episode of Turbo Pit Fighter, the making of. And we will be out there on the socials. If you have a comment that you'd like to leave, if you have a suggestion, if you have a topic for something you'd like us to discuss or show or review, we're always out there for that. We're always up for that. We want to definitely connect and have a dynamic interplay with our audience eventually. But tune in next week, and we drop these things every Sunday, right?
Yeah, 11 o'clock
Um,
a.m. Eastern.
and yeah, just keep on tuning in and be on the lookout for our bonus content. And go out there and buy comics, watch science fiction movies, and support the arts.
Hallelujah. Thanks, Jake. I'll see you next week.
All right, Kurt, feel better, man.
All right. Thanks, bro.